COVID-19 will result in a trend against globalization and towards more local production.
I think this is gonna have a certain impact. Short term, of course, closed borders basically closed all discussions too on the business transfer side, but in general on the economic situation it was quite difficult.
It's completely frozen at the moment, and until travel is allowed again, that it's not going to change. It's not. I don't think it's that realistic to expect someone from the UK to buy outside of the UK if they can't go there, and I don't expect anyone to buy in the UK from outside if they can't come here either. So I think in the short term we just have to accept the fact that it's just not going to happen. It's not going to be feasible.
Reducing mobility of the people make it difficult to manage business abroad. Negotiation in the absence of physical meetings will be more difficult.
Business owners are much more cautious, and the complexity of interdependence caused by globalization makes things very difficult. And we wonder how to overcome limitations or access to other markets, materials, and products. There's no way one country or one region can be totally self-sufficient or capable of providing domestic needs. It will take time to readjust, that's for sure. However, we must continue to nurture the international trade. However, we must necessarily diversify our sources of raw materials and resources, just the same way we must diversify our markets in different parts of the globe to diminish the dependency on one specific region.
So for cross-border deals, we saw cross-border deals fall dramatically in the first few months of the year, especially because cross-border deals had a number of difficulties that domestic deals didn't face. So there are travel restrictions that are still in place that have caused meeting delays, diligence delays, and there's also, as we were just talking about, closures and lockdowns being on different schedules in different countries.
I believe we should accept the fact that we need to get a house in order first. No doubt there will be some international and cross-border opportunities for those looking to expanded markets. However, if our house is not in order, we should improve on that first.
We have to be careful not to succumb to regional protectionism. Therefore, we must, at the same time, look for alternatives to keep all options viable in order to be ready to go full force when the relaunch of the economy in a post-pandemic era is finally here. Because business transfers are not always local or regional.
I am personally more optimistic for cross-border transactions within Europe. Frontiers will open up and supply chains will be rearranged. So these transactions will be feasible, especially I'm optimistic for transactions between Western European and Eastern European companies.
The few border transactions that we supported during the advent of COVID-19 were not cancelled but only postponed, and that's good news.
But I feel that it's going to be more catching up on lost time rather than an increase of anything. So it's kind of if as a ballpark figure, if 10 transactions were going to happen this month, instead of happening this month, there'll be 20 next month type idea instead, which will just catch up on that number type idea. I think it's going to be that kind of situation more than anything.
After the economy will start to open slowly and it's time to restart the business, the companies who have survived the crisis have a great chance to participate in redistribution of the markets.
This could also represent an opportunity to some companies that decide to invest in a strategic, operational and financial resilience to global emergency risks, as they will become better positioned to respond and recover from contingencies like the one we're living.
Those who have an important position in certain field in the international market will gain by acquiring smaller players from local markets.
I think that when this situation will pass, you're gonna have no changes on those transactions, and even better, you're gonna have more of those.
I think as soon as this unlock is kind of finished and travel is open again, it's going to open up the market. It's going to be, there's all of a sudden there's going to be a rush of people being able to come in, and as is always the case, if you're coming in with an audience or a user base or a customer base from outside and you can bring that across and they want there and there's already a case for it, you potentially are going to have a stronger argument after COVID lockdown for that international purchase. So I think there'll be kind of in the UK we would call it a sugar rush, where like there'll be like, as soon as the lockdown happens, I think you'll see this rush of everyone kind of running out to buy businesses in particular locations.
And we also see that cross-cultural differences become more apparent due to the COVID-19 crisis and lead to prejudices and misunderstandings. So whilst international transactions, especially with Asia, but also with the US, might get a hit, these differences can be overcome in case the investor is already present in Europe or uses European advisors to bridge the gap.
Industrial strategies linked in particular to the medical sector and also industrial to find a relocalization in Europe and also in the closed market, and the Maghreb and Morocco as a hub of Africa could be a very strong opportunity.
But if we look at the different type of investors, I think one of the interesting areas is over the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen a dramatic rise in strategic buyers. So that being PE firms, VC firms, or even portfolio companies looking to invest more heavily in the Chinese market. I think potentially one area that will be of benefit here to these strategic buyers is that credit and capital are currently much cheaper in Western markets than they are in Chinese markets. So if these firms or these companies do have the cash flow or access to credit currently, I think there's real value and opportunity to take advantage of, let's call these type of arbitrage opportunities.
A new world is already born. The things will be not be like 6 months ago, and these changes will change the way that the business transfer ecosystem will react.
Governments are also supporting MSMEs by adopting measures to help markets recover from the impact of the pandemic and assisting MSMEs in finding new alternatives markets, particularly through financial instruments specifically designed to help companies internationalize and promote their exports.
For now, we must keep our international partners close, especially those of us who share trade agreements.
I'm sure that the Transeo activities and its cross-border market will help to establish this deal room, making possible that the contacts between the people follow up, and we have some instruments to try to do this business transfer in terms of cross-border, in terms of all European, and having the people in the same way that can help the professionals and the industry to follow the priorities and recommendations of the European Council.
So my advice for anyone looking to buy or sell at the moment is through the point of necessity, stay within your own location, but be prepared for, as soon as the borders open again, advertise everywhere and as many places as you can, because people will come as soon as they're able to. They're just currently not able to.